Wow. Just wow.
Tell them to my list.
Good morning. I am Miriam Coe, a member of the Standing Committee here at First Church Boston. We are so glad you are here with us, whether you are joining us online or you are here in person in our beautiful sanctuary. I would like to express a special welcome to anyone who is visiting with us today. I hope that you will stay for coffee and conversation immediately following the service in the narthex. If you would like to learn more about First Church Boston or Unitarian Universalism, please speak with Reverend Stephanie, Lindsay, or myself during coffee hour, or you can visit us on the web at firstchurchboston.org. There is a lot happening at First Church. I do want to highlight a couple of announcements which also appear in your order of service. Winter Wednesdays continue this week with a hybrid discussion exploring the personal theology and spiritual journeys among three area UU ministers, the Reverend Stephanie, Sophia Lyons, and Chris Jablonski. They will share their own stories, theological perspectives, and visions for the future of our faith. You must register in advance to receive the short readings from each minister and to receive the link for online access. Next Sunday, February 9th at 8:30 a.m., you can join Reverend Stephanie and others for the 9th annual Winter Walk, which raises awareness and helps to and funds to help end homelessness in Boston. Both of these events require registration ahead of time. For more information, complete with QR codes, please see the brochures in the Emerson Lounge. Thank you again for being here today. Let our service now begin.
Good morning. I'm Lindsay Donnelly Bullington. I use she and her pronouns, and I have the pleasure of serving as the intern minister here at First Church in Boston, made all the more the pleasure but on a day with such exceptional music. I don't know what brought you here today, what called to you from this space so urgently that you trudged through the cold or past the many other ways to spend your time online. This morning, this week, all our lives, we have been pulled in countless different directions. We've met certain expectations and not others. We've worried about different fears, have celebrated different joys, have grieved different losses, have observed different rituals. We gather here today, together, seeking different things, and we will go from this place carrying different things with us. But we join together now in worship. May this time together grant an opportunity to connect with something deeper, something grander. May this be a chance in the midst of so many different pulls to recall those things that are of the greatest significance. May this be a time of possibility, where the call to place our trust in money, in borders, and might is answered with a gracious intention to nurture our relationships with one another, with our deepest self, and with our sense of purpose, of mission, and our values. This month, our worship theme is what could it mean to live with intention? Let's begin with our attention. Wherever you are, whatever you bring with you, be here now. May this inward call sustain us for at least this hour. I'm so glad that you are here so that we can worship together. The flaming chalice is the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Please rise as you are able and join with me in the words of our affirmation printed in your order of service as I light the chalice. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please take a moment to greet one another and to wave at the camera to say hi to the folks joining in online.
Please stay for greeting one another more during coffee hour after the service. And for now, we're going to sing one of my absolute favorite songs, Meditation on Breathing, and Bob Winkley is going to help us learn how to do it.
So it's number 1009 in the teal songbook, if you will. So it has 3 parts. Gigi was actually just alluding to the melody, but the easiest part for those of you who want to sing in the parts is the drone, which is the bottom line. And it's basically breathe in, breathe out. Everybody do that? Breathe in, breathe out. That's great, you sound perfect. So now we'll sing the melody, which starts, when I breathe in, I breathe in peace, when I breathe out. So Gigi's going to play through it once. Then what we'll do is everybody can sing a melody. For the first time, then we're going to do it 2 more times and choose whether you want to sing the melody or the drone. It's all up to you. The sopranos do a descant. It'll be beautiful.
Or sing anything you want.
Or sing anything you want.
Please be seated. Our time for all ages this morning is the book Steps and Stones, an On's Anger Story by Gail Silver. Recess is On's favorite part of the day. But not today. Today, his friends Sam and Charlie ran right past him, not even looking his way. Wait, On called. We're supposed to dig. I brought shovels and everything. We don't want to dig, said Sam, bouncing a big red ball in the dirt. Yeah, echoed Charlie. Digging is for babies. We're playing kickball instead. On felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. I don't want to play kickball, he said. I want to dig. But Sam and Charlie were already kicking the ball around, and On was left alone. On walked to the shade of the oak tree, a salty tear rounding the corner of his lip. He leaned against the tree and watched as the tear made a tiny puddle in the dirt. I'm glad you finally stopped, said a voice. I've been trying to get your attention. On lifted his head and saw a dark silhouette and a pair of red sneakers. Anger? Asked On. Is that you? It's me, said Anger. You know I always show up when things aren't going your way. On looked at Anger. He hadn't seen him for a while. Why were you wearing all that stuff? On asked. I almost didn't recognize you. I was trying to be inconspicuous, Anger whispered. I'm not sure if I'm allowed at school. On and Anger sat together watching the other kids play kickball. Sam and Charlie were supposed to dig with me, said On. I know, said Anger. Now I have no one to play with, On said. And Charlie thinks I'm a baby. I can think of a thing or two that I'd like to say to Charlie, said Anger. Me too, said On. I'd stand up to him and I'd say, I'm no baby. And then, said Anger excitedly, we'd grab the ball and we'd throw it at him. Come on, said Anger. Let's find Sam and Charlie. Anger jumped up and started to run. I don't know, On said. Maybe this isn't such a good idea. Can we slow down? On and Anger began walking slowly together. With their first step, they took a breath in. With their next step, they let the breath out. One step, breathing in. One step, breathing out. I've never walked this slowly before, said Anger. It feels funny. Let's try counting our steps, On suggested. Maybe that will help. 1, 2, 3. On and Anger quietly counted the rise and fall of each step. 4, 5, 6. On could feel his breath moving up and down in his belly. 7, 8, 9. It's hard to concentrate, said Anger. I keep losing my count. 10, 11, 12. On felt a cool breeze behind him, gently pushing him towards the field. 13, 14, 15. The slow rhythm of On's breath comforted him, and he started to feel better. Anger? Called On. Are you still here? I'm right here, Anger answered softly. What are you doing? Asked On. I'm a little tired, said Anger. I think I should stay here and rest. Okay, said On. I can go by myself now. Wait, said Anger, handing On a dandelion. Make a wish. On closed his eyes and drew in a big breath. He blew it out and watched the dandelion seeds scatter. Now you make a wish, said On, turning to Anger. But Anger had already faded away. On rose to his feet and walked slowly towards the field. The sun was warm on his face, and he wanted to play. 16, 17. On couldn't help walking a little faster. 18, 19. 20, On said, the sound of his voice surprising him. 20 what? Someone asked. It was Sarah, a girl from his class. 20 steps from there to here, said On. He pointed back towards the big oak tree. Why were you counting your steps? She asked. On thought about his anger, the oak tree, and the slow walk. He thought about Charlie and Sam. It's a long story, he said. I like long stories, Sarah said, poking in the dirt. Hey, look what I found. Wow, said An, that's a really cool rock. Sarah held the small, shimmery stone up to the sun, and it sparkled in the light. I've never seen a rock like that before, said Sam, running up. I know, said An. You can find a lot of neat stuff when you dig. You haven't told us your story, Sarah said. Why were you counting your steps? Yeah, said Charlie, coming over. Why were you walking so slowly? Charlie, Sam, and Sarah gathered around. Come on, they said. Tell us. An looked at his friends and smiled. Recess is my favorite part of the day, An began. And it still was. All ages are welcome in our sanctuary, and if any kids would like to join me for some values-based fun, they can head out with me right now.
Resting in that beautiful soundscape, I invite you to remain in a spirit of meditation. I want to lead us in what's called a loving kindness meditation. I invite you to begin by sitting comfortably. If you want, put both feet on the ground, feel grounded. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. And take 3 deep breaths into your belly, letting it slowly rise and fall. First, I invite you to offer loving kindness to yourself by silently repeating to yourself these words. May I be safe, be happy, be healthy, live with ease. May I be safe, be happy, be healthy, live with ease. If it helps, imagine someone you trust offering these phrases to you. May you be safe, be happy, be healthy, live with ease. Now imagine a friend, one who's doing well, or one who's having difficulty right now. You can bring them here, visualize them, or say their name to yourself. Get a feeling for their presence and offer the phrases of loving kindness to them. May you be safe, be happy, be healthy, live with ease. And now let us bring the blessing to all beings everywhere, all people, including our enemies, all creatures, all those in existence, near and far, known and unknown. May all beings be safe, be happy, be healthy, live with ease. Continuing in a spirit of meditation, I invite you into a moment of stillness. As you breathe in and out, continue with these phrases of loving kindness, or simply use the phrase, just be. Once a month, we leave space in the service for sharing our joys and sorrows and concerns with each other. If you wish to speak, I invite you to come forward, state your name, and if you wish, add a stone to our communal vase. We are all participants in this moment, whether we are speaking or witnessing. This continues the spirit of meditation, of pointing to those deeper places in ourselves, individually and together.
Thank you, Stephanie. Hello. My name is John Clark. I'm a member of this church, and I want to say when I first came here, I didn't know anybody. And I was sort of feeling outside. And then what I thought, I'm going to get a job in the church. So I went up to the minister at the time, Stephen, and I said, what job doesn't anybody want? And he said, the arts director. And I said, okay, I'll take it. And what that meant to me was that I was going to be mixing in with all of you at some sort of level of the community. And I got to know your names and you got to know my name. And so I say to you, if you're new to this church, please sign up to be a greeter. Do something, get involved, because we want to get to know you, and that's the way you belong to us, and we belong to you. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
I am Beverly Allen, and this is the thing which I said earlier. I want a cone for my younger sister, Dorothy Allen Mazzot, who died of cancer last fall. She beat it once before, but this time it had spread to her liver, and she chose palliative care rather than go through the chemotherapy again. She said, sedate me and let me go, and she died with her son holding her hand.
Hi, my name is Pam, and I don't often get up to do joys and sorrows, but I have great concern about what's going on in this country. I'm sure you do too. And I never thought this country would come to this. It's against all the things that I believe this country stands for. So I'm alarmed. I'm angered, like the story today. I don't understand why people are not out in the streets protesting. But I come here Sunday mornings to find common people and to express my sorrow.
Hi, I'm Fern Beck, long-term member. I look at your faces and I'm always energized. All right, I have a complete joy. It'll be pretty quick. There is a Cape Verdean woman who has a 13-year-old who's in a wheelchair and a 25-year-old who's doing great. I invited her to go to a jazz event, and she went with me. Ben was there. It was very, very nice, and she listened to the music, and her Portuguese is good, of which I know little of. But it was such a good experience for her that she called me on the telephone and said, did I want to have dinner with her and she was going to a baby shower. So I said yes, and her son, who's a 25-year-old who's soaring, doing great, he picked me up. And last night, I had the most magical experience. I was with 70 Cape Verdeans. I was the only non-Cape Verdean. It was very easy to pick me out. And they were so joyous. So it was about this person was going to deliver a baby, and apparently their tradition is if you're going to deliver a baby or if you're getting married, you have the same ceremony. So I was with them for hours and hours, dancing, watching their culture, the love that they had, little ones, big ones, all different shades of the rainbow, and it was completely magical, and I am so grateful. You know, you do things for people, and you have no idea what energy field is around. So I want to just share it with you. I have great pictures, too. All right.
I'm Beth, and on Tuesday I gave my notice after 24 years, and I phrased it as retirement from the field of accounting specific to the corporate culture. I'm leaving it a week before I turn 60, and then I'm going to spend a few months figuring out what the heck else I want to do before I start hopefully living on security, getting Social Security if it's around in 6 years. But so I just wanted to share that it was very joyous, and I knew it was the right thing because I couldn't stop smiling.
I'm Margaret Kading, longtime member, mostly absence. My apologies for that. But it's over. I'm home again. Yes. And as to Beth's comment, I totally understand. I sold my business, I retired, and boy, is it fun.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Palazuelos, and I've been a member for a number of years. And a lot of sorrow for me this week. With the freeze on U.S. foreign aid, there's just countless people living with HIV, living with tuberculosis and malaria, who've shown up to clinics around the world with shuttered doors, with medicines inside that no one's allowed to give them. And just the amount of harm has been so painful. People that we know, colleagues that we know affected, and we will all fight this. I know that people affected and people of conscience will all work to fight this, but the amount of harm has already been very dramatic. And it's been a great sorrow to me these past 2 weeks. And it's good to be with you all in fellowship.
I feel like we could take the whole thing of rocks and drop it in.
Good morning. My name is David Reno, and I have been a member here since the previous millennium. Since we were founded by John Winthrop, we are the ones who are loyal to the true America. We are now the loyal opposition, and we shall oppose by any means possible the current overtake of our federal government. In the back of our thing, we have a thing for one of our members, John Bancroft, who was a chaplain of the Senate. When a lady was visiting Washington for the first time, she was feeling very patriotic and asked then Chaplain Bancroft, "Tell me, Chaplain Bancroft, do you pray with the Congress?" Being a chaplain, he of course had to tell the truth. He said, "No, madam, I see the Congress and I pray for the country." Let us pray for the country and let us do everything to have midterms. And also, please, if you would feel meditation, give a thank to my wife who is still in rehab. We'll see what we do at the end of the month. Thank you. About 2 or 3.
Come on, Teddy.
Hi, friends. My name's Teddy, your friendly neighborhood tenor. I'll be quick. I like to talk, but I do have a joy and concern. So joy, appreciating being alive. After last service, it was almost my last, I walked across the street and an icicle the size of me with a point and everything went right in front of me and smashed up. And I'm a very fighter. You know when it's like flight or fight or whatever, I'm a freeze. So I was like looking at it like, as like all these icicle shards are all over me. And I look behind me and this woman's like walking fast, as city people do. And I was like, oh my God, I almost died. And she's like, life is hard. So, and just kept walking. So would have been a great crime scene. But anyway, concern. As a loving teacher, I was informed at my job that throughout my town, there's going to be a lot of ICE checkpoints around my school and around the town and stuff like that. So, just watch out what you say about people and what you know, like keep it to yourself. Sometimes secrets are great. Sometimes knowledge is a treasure, and not sharing it with everyone just for some people's safety and concern. So.
Thanks, Teddy.
Thank you. I'm Peter Bonos, member of the Standing Committee, and on a more philosophical note, I want to thank Lindsay for triggering my latest realization, or at least my latest pithy utterance to sum up where I am in my life. I see a couple of people mentioned retirement, and this is sort of what retirement means to me, but it's more than that. When in Lindsay's Time for Old Ages, there was a moment where anger says to the protagonist, I'm always around when things aren't going your way. And that reminded me of the saying, my way or the highway. And I suddenly realized I'm happier with the highway. So I hope I'll see you all there in some form or other. Thank you.
I just want to give Susan a hug.
So I'm Susan, and I'm a way-long member of the church, but I haven't been here since August, when I took a fall on a pickleball court, and a really bad fall, and I was in surgery and rehab, and I've been healing. And Friday, I drove my car for the first time since the summer, and I thought, well, time to come back. And I am so glad to see all of you. And, and Stephanie with her new hair color. I almost didn't recognize her. Anyway, so
Hi all, my name is Mahdi Diab, and I am not a member of the church, but I've started visiting this year, actually, the first week of 2025. And I am grateful that the church is here and that I'm visiting. I love this community. Thank you all for being around. And I want also to send a prayer to my friend Dolores, who passed away in Stockbridge on Friday, and left us with a loving memory of dancing and a lot of love for ice cream.
As many of you know, I did not grow up Unitarian Universalist. I converted, so to speak. And one of my favorite practices is this moment, because there is so much in the world that is dangerous when we try to reduce things to black and white and to a simple good and bad. And the mashup that happens in this moment, in this ritual, of the good and the bad and the heartbreaking and the hopeful and the injustice and the grief, and it's all tumbled together, that's life. And we hold it together. And that is the gift of religious community. So thank you for being here to speak and to listen. And I share a rock now for everything that remains unspoken. And now, I always forget to remind you that now is the time we're going to have an offering, which is another kind of ritual, a ritual of gratitude. As you are able to contribute to the shared welfare of this community. today the important part was that we heard each other, so we're running long. We're going to skip the reading the best parts quoted in the sermon. And also, I respect you as adults. So if you need to leave at any point, please leave and do what you need to do with the rest of your life. I'm glad you're here. For the last few years, I have read an Eileen Hildebrand novel in January. If you're not familiar with Hildebrand, she writes romance novels, most of which are based in Nantucket in the summer. Called The Queen of Beach Reads, I read her novels in January to escape from the gray, cold winter of New England to the beach, to summer, to a different scene. Sometimes a bit of escape can feel great, but right now it is winter and it is cold. If I mentally drift too far into thinking it's a warm summer day, I might wander outside woefully unprepared in a sundress and sandals. Knowing when we are can help us make appropriate and intentional actions. Yet it can be very hard to stay with the moment we are now in. Our minds are easily tugged into the past or the future. The past calling to us with a nostalgic tune of better days and simpler times. The future clamoring for our attention. Aren't you worried about this terrible thing happening? You should do something now. Images of the past or the future can sometimes feel more present to us than the person beside us or the forkful of food we're putting in our mouth. And yet, our choices are only made in the present moment, in the now. We cannot go back to redo choices. We cannot force the future into specific decisions. Our choices happen now. But staying in this present moment can be hard. Our minds are often a swirl of messages about the way it was, or the way it could or should be. We may feel like the past we experienced is receding further and further away, and the future we imagined is crumbling. In this place of an ever-changing now, we may feel dispirited by all we cannot control. But there will always be so much we cannot control or change, yes? Regrets from the past, dreams for a future that we now know will never come to pass. Still, we wake to another day with its landscape of time challenging us to consider, what will you do with this next hour, this day, this next or perhaps last chapter of your life? Do you know what you intend to do? Throughout this month, we are asking, what could it mean to live with intention? This question emerges from the section of our 1630 covenant that reads, "We do hereby solemnly and religiously promise and bind ourselves." Like the other sections of our covenant that could use some reimagining, today the word solemn often connotes formal and dignified, reinforcing that image of the Puritans as killjoys. However, solemn also conveys a sense of deep sincerity. In this sense, the Puritans are seeking to be sincere, not hypocrites, acting from a place of honesty and integrity. Likewise, the term religiously is not about how churchy or dogmatic they could be, but rather religiously signifies regularly, as in he religiously flosses his teeth every day. Together, solemnly and religiously, convey a sense of acting from a place of devoted attention and intention for how they lived every day. As you may know, living with intention is a key idea in Buddhist thought. In an essay on intention, Buddhist teacher Sharon Salzberg relates a story of being new to yoga and to the Sanskrit words for the poses. She writes, "One day as my teacher John Friend was demonstrating a pose, he made an awkward-looking movement, then rebalanced. Coming out of it, he asked, 'What just happened?' One by one, my classmates offered a Sanskrit name for that extra little twist. Finally, John turned to me and repeated his question, 'What just happened?' I replied, 'To be honest, I think you fell.' 'You're right,' he said. 'I fell.' Then I started over. That's good yoga." Salzberg continues by highlighting how after John fell, he reawakened his intention and rebalanced. Intention is not the same as perfect action. Intention is about an ongoing relationship with what is possible or right. We might fall again and again in our efforts to align ourselves to our intended behavior, attitude, or actions. But we can rebalance, returning to our intention to be kinder, less jealous, more attentive to the kids, less attentive to our screens, or what other intentions we may hold. Describing the comprehensive place of intentions in our lives, Buddhist teacher Gloria Tariana Ambrosia writes, "The Buddha tells us that intention is active not only in the things we do and say, but also in what we think. It is the force that drives action through body, speech, and mind. It's like the rudder of a ship. It even directs our attention, determining what we attend to." As a rudder, intention is not the same as a goal or a 5-point plan focused on achievements. Rather, attention is more akin to a life stance for everyday interactions. Admittedly, I have much to learn about Buddhism and Buddhist ideas of intention. For me, living with intention means deliberately choosing how I will show up in the world. Will I spend my entire drive to work feeling rushed and frustrated with the other Boston drivers? Or will I notice the ice on the Charles River, appreciate the music on the radio, and slow down to kindly let another driver merge? Or how might my everyday life change if I brought the intention of kindness to my interactions with the grocery store cashier, to how I relate to my partner Bill at the end of a long day, or to how I respond to a person with whom I am in conflict? Setting an intention does not mean I am perfect. Rather, like John, the yoga teacher who fell, I too fall short of intentions. Then I keep trying. Living as we do in an ever-changing now, we can reawaken to our intention in each moment. One intention that seems increasingly important to me is to be here in the now. We face enormous challenges right now. People are scared. Scared of the dismantling of government programs that help them to eat, have shelter, get medical care here and, as you heard, around the world. Scared of arrests, detentions, and deportations that separate families and threaten dehumanizing treatment. Scared of what happens in 5, 10, 25 years from disbanding efforts to combat climate crisis. Scared of not even knowing for sure what is happening and what the effects may be. It is all so overwhelming. And so how do people who value a just and equitable society respond to racist, sexist, and transphobic rhetoric and actions? How do people that love the planet and believe in the urgent need to address climate change take action? How do we live in this now? We start, I think, by paying attention to our intentions. There, before any action, teaches the Buddha, is our intention. Do we intend harm or loving kindness? Do we intend to stay attached to the future we were supposed to have? Or do we let go of that vision as we honestly assess where we now are? When are we? How do we live in this moment with awareness and intention? Salzburg teaches, when we develop the habit of noticing our intentions, we have a much better compass with which to navigate our lives. We learn to cast a glance at our motivation before we speak or act, which frees us to live the life we want. Asking what it could mean to live with intention is to ask, what life do you want? Like the oxygen of the breath that infuses our bodies with life, intentions infuse our lives with freely chosen purpose. This is not to say our intentions to live a certain way will guarantee a particular outcome for ourselves or for our shared planet, because intentions aren't goals or 5-point plans. Intentions are simply how we choose to show up in the world and in the moment in which we now are, where we may repeatedly encounter disappointment, injustices, and harm. Intentions are responses to a world in suffering, including our own. And I would suggest intentions are also a form of spiritual resistance. By noticing our intentions, we remain free in our spirit from others' dictates as we choose our own path. Each moment we choose, each moment we can choose to respond to harm with an intention to care. We can choose to respond to hate with an intention to love. We can choose to respond to despair with an intention to remain solemnly and religiously bound to community. Our lives are happening in this moment, which may not resemble the world we want. Like John, the yoga teacher, we may feel as if we have fallen and are off balance in this unexpected place. And it is in this moment that we can reawaken our intention, rebalance, and choose how we will continue to engage the world as it is. In many ways, I so wish now were different. More like times in the recent past, or closer to a vision of how I would like the world to be in the future. But here we are in this moment, which is the only moment in which we can act. Knowing when we are can help us to make appropriate and intentional actions. So how do we intend to act? Buddhist teacher Jack Kornfield writes, "Instead of inflaming a bad situation, we can seek ways of touching the good in another without denying pain and injustice. We can also look for the secret beauty of others. Our spiritual practice can be this simple: to see with eyes of compassion and act with wisest intention. This often has a surprising effect." Nelson Mandela put it this way: "Thinking too well of people often allows them to behave better than they otherwise would. Do not doubt the transformation that can be born out of such conscious attention." As we face this challenging present, may our intentions for good be a rudder to guide our thought, speech, and actions. And may we have faith that living intentionally by our shared values of love and service, equity and generosity has transformative power. In a moment that threatens to knock us off balance, may we reawaken our intentions and rediscover our freedoms. So may it be. Amen. Our closing hymn is number 6, Just As Long As I Have Breath. I don't have the hymnal, but just because of the time, let's do the first and last verse, whatever that happens to be. So the first and last verse of hymn number 6. Please join me in extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the light of this community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Sustained by our connections to each other and to all that is holy, true, and good, let us go and be beyond these walls, engaging across difference, loving with abundance, and working together to sustain our shared and beautiful world. Blessed be. Amen.